Hello there, this is M.Strange, the creator of I Am Nightmare, Heartstring, Marionette, We Are the Strange, and all kinds of other weird animated stuff. And this is the CG world of I Am Nightmare, where this isn't going to be too detailed or in-depth. I just kind of wanted to give you a little look into how I made this movie and kind of how some of the stuff works. So, firstly, we have our character, Teeny, which is just my basic little doll character. And all my characters are based on the same rig and have the same basic body parts, and I rig them up like dolls in pieces so that they are able to animate faster, and it's easier to make a bunch of different characters because I can just interchange their parts. And you'll see something right now. You see that Teeny's hair is dynamic, but this is something I actually didn't use in the movie. Like, it was on him, but I never used it because I didn't want to have to go through and fix his hair when he moves really fast. It was going all over the place. But this is how I move my characters around, and I want to show you a little bit about how I do the facial animation because it's really simple. So I have this little face control thing here, and then we can make him blink with his doll eyes, make his jaw open and close. If I want to do lip sync, then I would just turn this on and I would load in an audio file, and then it would have automatic lip sync. But we're not going to do that on this one. Just want to show you his facial expressions. As you can see, I don't have that many here. Like, these are his mouth shapes, which I used a little bit. And these are just basic morphs or blend shapes, as they're known in some other programs. So these are his faces. See, serious face, scared face, and I didn't use any of them 100% because they look kind of crazy. His little laughing face, his little anger face. And all the characters had the same facial expression, so I made all these for all the different characters. And then I have a little combination so I can mix in different brow stuff with the different looks, and also with their eyes. So with this, for what I wanted to do in this movie, it served its purpose. And then here's how I make his eyes look around with this little thing. So that's pretty much how I controlled these characters. And I'm just going to flip through a bunch of different scenes and just show you some different things from the film, characters and sets and whatever, and hopefully it's interesting. So let's go to our next model. Oh my god, look, we have this shy monster. I'm sure it was your favorite character in the whole movie, right? So this is the same parts as Teeny and all the other characters. Same pretty much controls, but she has a little different ones because she has the additional legs, which are controlled here. And she has some custom controls too, saying that she's a monster that blinks normal. But I wanted her to look really freaky. So, you know, normally when you move your mouth, you just move the lower jaw like this. Rah, rah, rah. So I wanted it to be freaky, and I had her upper jaw move too. Her and the Nightmares both do that. So it gives her a freakier look. And then, since she had to shoot acid out of her gigantic boobs, I had to have boob controls too, so these are her actual boob controls here, see? With jiggle deformers built in. So what a sick person I am, animating giant boobs shooting acid. But that's what you have to do sometimes to make movies. And yeah, her character, these arms and legs are from the other ones, and I just made this little weird spider, scorpion torso thing custom for her. Now here's a fun one, right? We have a Nightmare. And I want to show you what he can do. So to open and close the cape, I just have this slider to open the cape, and then this little helper. And to do his arms, I have a pose. So this little tool I use has these saved poses. So I saved an open pose like that, and a closed pose. So I can just, if I want him to open it, you know, I just click that. I want him to close him to do that. So let's go with the open. And he has his hand poses in here, and all the characters had this stuff too. So, but let's look at some of the other controls he has. So he has an open and close for his mouth. I don't know if you noticed this in the movie, I did this a little bit. That's his cape again, his cape helper, and then he has the same thing as a shy monster. That's where I got the idea. And that's why they look freaky if you see him talk or laugh, is because our top and bottom closes, opens and closes. So that's him, and then all the different hands have their own controls, and I did some little I use this plug-in called Wire Object to make it look like his hands are connected by wires, because I wanted it to look like a net. And these were kind of inspired by this movie called Beastmaster, and there's these monsters that like absorb people. I saw that when I was little and it really scared me, so I tried to work that into my nightmare design. And for their facial expressions, it's super simple. I just had this thing, so it's a couple morphs tied to a slider, so I just moved this thing around to change their facial expressions. You know, but most of the time they're smiling, and he has eye control like the other ones, but I didn't really use it much because I want him to look kind of derpy. And his blink control, I don't know if you noticed that in the movie either, but it controls both sets of eyes. You can't see those all the time. But that is our nightmare guy here. And as you can see, if you know 3D, my UVs are all screwed up. These textures are all stretched, but since this was my little kid movie, I didn't care. Oh, one more thing I want to show you. Let's go and close his cape. Close cape, so I can show you the weird bulge things he had on him. So same thing. It's just little morph controller. So all I did was animate this moving around to make it look like, you know, something's trapped in there or trying to get out. So that's how I did that. So I'm just doing really simple things. There's nothing complicated about any of this. It's just really easy, basics. But you just get creative and hopefully you can do some interesting stuff. Here's the sign for the town. Just real low poly, simple thing. These little lanterns. Hopefully you can read it in the movie, but I was using my wide angle lenses, so maybe you couldn't. Where nothing ever changes. So this is really a low polygon thing. I want to show you the spiral stairs because there a bunch of people told me, you know, how much they liked that scene, and I just want to show you how easy it is. Let's see if we can see it in the wires. Not really. So let's travel inside of there. So here's our clock tower, and let's go down in the clock tower. So here's a little spiral staircase. Let's turn the textures off maybe so you can see it. So I like building sets out so that they actually work like they would work in the real world. You know, they have the right kind of scale, so you can do, you know, cool camera moves and fly through stuff, things like this. Let's see if I turn the textures off, you can see it better. Let's see how simple it is. It's super low poly. It's just the stone tile textures that make it look a bit more interesting. So, but I had a couple clock towers. So I had one separate model that just had the bottom floor, one that just has the stairs, which is this one, and one that has a top piece. So when I say just has it, so they're like all filled out with all the lighting and everything set up. See how this is empty? So this is where the kids come in at the beginning of the movie, but that's a different model. And the reason you don't have it all in one is because it would be too many polygons and make your scene too slow. But I did leave the clocks on this one, which I should have turned them off because you don't see them from the inside. But that's the spiral stairs. Here's a little animated scene. It's an unfinished one. I used a different one for the movie, but this is where Bog runs up and beheads a nightmare. But now since I'm in the actual scene, you see that we can look at it from a different angle. So there he goes. Jumps up and knocks that nightmare's head off and gets ready to get hit by another one. And let's see if I can tear this off. Show you. So this is using motion clips, which, let me try to fix this window here so you can see it. Can I do it? I don't know. Get smaller. View window. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So, this run, as you'll see if I can kind of do it here, is one clip. Let's see. I know this isn't optimum, I'm sorry, it's confusing. But I usually use 3 monitors, so it's kind of hard to do one here. So, the run is a clip, and then the rest of the animation is keyframed, so it goes from a clip, pre-made clip, see this Bog run that I used over and over, then it goes into keyframe animation. Just a little note for anybody out there that cares. Does anybody care? Oh, no, nobody cares. But I showed it to you anyway. So that's a little animated clip there. These are the tables of the people in the lantern house. So there's only 2 tables with animated people. So these just have keyframe looping animations that I did. So I just make them drink from the glasses and it's a loop. And so these 2 tables are different. If you can see, they have different people with different masks. But in the house, all I did was instance or duplicate these tables over and over. And you can kind of notice if you really look, but, you know, they're just background stuff, so you don't notice them. So these are just how I did the creepy people on the tables in this place. They're pretty creepy, right? And you kind of be amazed that, you know, you don't need that much animation to kind of give things life. Especially if you're trying to make them freaky looking, you don't need much at all. So I'm just using, I think I'm using vibrate deformers, which are these little things that generate automatic movement on their joints. Of course, their hands are keyframed, but the rest of their head and all that stuff is just these little vibrate tags. Here's a little plane, Bog's little plane, Bog and Teeny's plane. And this was a super janky model. Like, I made this thing so fast, and I was like, yeah, whatever, and I just threw it together. Let's see if we can see the crappy wireframe. You can't really tell, but whatever. It's supposed to be a kid's plane, so let's see if it actually has seats or what's inside of this. Nope, there's nothing there. But, you know, in 3D, it's all that matters what the camera sees. So, here's a little plane. Does this thing move? Oh, I jacked it up. Sorry. Sorry, little plane. Oh, this is the old propeller. See, I had this shitty propeller on it first, and then I replaced it with a better one. So we can delete that. Here's one of the floaty papers I used in the movie. So it's just a piece of paper with a deformer on it with some paper texture, which I think I just scanned a real paper and dirtied it up or something. But so these, see the animation's pre-made, so then I can just move them around. So that's what it looks like without the little deformers on it. Giving us some paper. Let's check out some of the little sets. So all the houses in the movie, Marie's house, Board's house, Flan's house, are all the same model. I just changed the wallpaper and changed some of the stuff in here. So like his house doesn't have any books. And I think in the movie he actually has bottles. I think this is Flan's house. I'm not sure which one it is, but they all have the same stove that I modeled and a little tea kettle. And refrigerators and sinks for some reason. But yeah, so I don't know if you noticed that, but all their houses are the same, but it kind of worked for the story because, you know, everything's supposed to be the same and everyone's supposed to be the same. So if they have the same houses and, you know, with tract houses and condos and apartments that are always a lot alike, then it kind of makes sense too. Here's the one chair. And there's only one chair in the whole movie. I just used it in all the different sets. Here's the bottom floor. So this is another clock tower model, and this is one that actually has the bottom floor. So this is the one that I used in the movie with these weird statues here. And check this out. See if you see something weird about these statues as we're rotating around them. Hey, wait. There's supposed to be something weird. They're not working. Oh no. Where's my camera? Okay, something's not right here. Let me fix this. Who's not doing their job? Okay, well, that ruined that. That was a major fail. Because in the movie, I had this expression on the camera, so no matter where you went, they would always turn their back to you. So obviously, it's not working here. I don't know why. But in the movie, if you see the way the camera moves, you can never see their fronts. You only see the back. And I don't know if you noticed this either, but I colored the stairs black and white because I kind of wanted them to look like piano keys. Because if you've seen my previous movie, Heartstring, Marionette, Lord War, the bad guy in that, has this organ. And these pieces here are actually pieces of his organ. So I just took them apart and made this stuff for this movie out of it. Out of his organ. So that's what that is. And let's go look at the monster guy's table. He has a single sandwich. He has some cigarettes. He has some sake cups. See, I even put little crumpled cigarettes in there. and his little lantern or candle thing. And then this is in a bunch of places in the movie. It's like a gun rack. I use it in the jail, whatever. But I like reusing stuff, so I just make it once. Same thing with these little lanterns. I just made one, and then I reuse them throughout the movie. So you only see this bottom part. They come in here, and you see them run up the stairs. But we don't actually go from here to there, because there's nothing up there. But let's go to the actual top floor of the clock tower. This one's really slow, because all these gears and stuff. Because, as you'll see, if I scrub through, they move. And if you did see my previous film, Heartstring Marionette, you'll recognize this music box. And though it has a clock on it now, because this is the music box that's setting it's like the metronome setting the time for this world. And speaking of metronomes, here's the metronome for Heartstring Marionette 2. So, is M. Strange just lazy reusing model, or is there some connection between the two films? We'll never know. And there's that same gun rack over there. And see, so this actually connects, if we can look, without my computer dying. So, I didn't need to use this, but it actually connects. See, there's the spiral stairs and it goes down. And actually, I left the models down there too. From in the movie when they're walking through those weird red things with like the wires connected to them. So that's all connected, but I didn't really need to do that. Because you never actually go from there to here. So there's the chair where the guy was sitting. And this is the same table from the lantern house. Same chair too. Let's see. Now we're in Flann's house. Okay, so this is Flann's house. So in the movie, I filled these up with bottles. And they were there, these bottles. I just duplicated them more and put them over there. Where's his fire, though? He should have a fireplace. There it is. There's his fireplace. And if you notice in the movie, they have these little animated embers. So, you know, I'm doing just a real abstract stuff in this movie. Like this abstract fire, obviously. These don't look like real embers or sparks. But it's a kind of a kid's animated cartoony thing, so it works. So this is the same house as Boar's house. You can see the chair. I just changed the wallpaper. Here's the forest with the kids in it. So if you remember the scene where the camera comes up on them early in the movie. So these green things, I know I wasn't inspired for this forest design. So I'm not like, I wasn't stoked about this forest design. It was kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's a forest, but you know, it's not spectacular. So these are just flat little planes, and what I did for this, in my movie We Are the Strange, I scanned sushi grass and put them into 2.5D in that movie, and they're blue. So I figured, since this has a lot of similarities with my first film, I was like, oh, I'll use the same sushi grass. I'll make a 3D model of it and make it green. But since it's 2D flat, it doesn't... I could have made this set a lot cooler, but I was just in a rush and I wasn't that inspired. But it's only in the beginning of the movie, so it wasn't a big deal. And as we fly up, you can see... Oh, let's turn on our generator so we can see all the stuff that's supposed to be in here. And you can see the trees, and geographically the town's right here. But you don't ever see it from there, but that's where the town is. And we have our mountains, which are really low poly, and our trees. And I think I'm in a mountain, am I? No. Yeah, I was inside of a mountain. But as you can see, some of these sets, when they get really big, they get kind of unwieldy, and it's hard to navigate them. But it's a lot of grass there, right? So they're somewhere over here, and there's the town, and then Marie's walking on that path that's right here. So I did connect it, like it all makes sense in the physicality of the world. Even though maybe you couldn't tell, but it does. I just do that because I'm crazy. So here's the jail. We've got a bunch of books, these barrels, these candles, which actually weren't in the movie. I ended up deleting these because these were the candles that I used in Heartstring Marionette, and they actually use, this is like an image sequence of real fire, and it's a really big texture, so, and you have problems with depth maps in these, so I didn't use those. I used my crappy 3D fire. So there's the book, same books that are in Marie's house. And let's go through this door to see if it actually has the jail in here too. Or if it doesn't, yeah. So that's where the jail is. I don't know if you can tell in the movie that it's connected. Hopefully you do. You see the thug guy yell to the door and the mayor comes in here, but it is connected. So that's why, you know, I really want to get into making games, because I make my sets like they could be a game because they are connected and they work, like the doors work and all that stuff. So it would just take a little bit more work to actually make this a playable level. But that's coming soon. So this is what the jail looks like. Never saw this up here. And what else do we have here? The jail, the lantern house. So this is a test lantern house. As you notice, there's no people in here. So this is before I populated it, before I started working, you know, actually animating the movie. And this is what I do. So this is like a scale model. So when I'm building the sets, I bring in this dude, or just, you know, a model that's the size of an average adult in the movie, so I know that everything's the right size. And here's where the mayor sat, right here. And then, I don't know if you notice his cage in it, but if you saw Heartstring Marionette, this is the same cage that the Wasp Woman carries Susie in. But in this one, I just stuck a candle in it. And then these doors, here and here, are supposed to be where the brothels are. So you don't see people going back there, but I stuck those doors there, so, you know, because you're like, well, where are they, like, doing the ill stuff? So it's through these doors here. So let's see what it looks like on the outside. So it's just really basic on the outside. And early in the movie, you go like this, zoom into this place, and it's populated. This one isn't. And the, you know, the tables have people on them, like that table I showed you before. Here's the little lantern factory where the kids have to work, and this is another real simple model with their little supplies here. I don't know if you notice, there's some tools, there's a bunch of candles that are supposed to be in the lanterns, the paper, and the little airplane. So, you know, you can get away when you're doing a kind of cartoony abstract stuff like me. You can get away with very little. You just need a couple little things, a little variation, and, you know, it kind of works. It should be about the story and what's going on. I'm not trying to build super ultimate sets. So now we have Marie's house from the outside, which you'll probably recognize. And again, it's the same as the other houses. So let's fly into her door. Zoom. And here's Marie's kitchen. Here's where she made sandwiches. And then this one, hopefully it's... yeah, so this one's populated with stuff. It has the books. It has more of the chairs. And her wallpaper is different. And this wallpaper is actually a dollhouse wallpaper because I wanted these things to look like dollhouses. And the furniture here I modeled based on pictures of doll furniture that I found online. So there's a doll theme with all this stuff. So here's the kids' beds. That's where they all sleep in their little dresser. So that's Marie's house. And this one is going to be super slow because this is a model of the entire town with the forest and all the buildings. So see how slow it is? But this will show you, if I can get it to you, I want to show you where stuff happens. So early in the movie, when the kids are in the forest, this is that forest piece right here. Here's the path that Marie walks down. She's carrying the sandwiches from that leads to the town. And see, here's the town. And then as we go over the town, you'll probably recognize this. It's the front of the town. Here's the lantern house. Here's the evil place. Here's the clock tower. And then back here is the stone garden with all the statues and the well. So that's how it's laid out. And it's I modeled it after I drew the concept art first of what the little town looked like, and then I just made it. So here's the shrine. Marie's house is right here. So yeah, and the textures aren't on because it'll get even slower if I turn the textures on. Here's a little scene. It's actually a scene from the movie with some lip sync where the characters are talking, and I just want to show you how that works.
Yeah.
So you can play it in here.
Did you see that? It was magic.
Yeah, I saw it.
Mac, if this guy isn't the Nightmare Hunter, then who is
He
he?
did magic. It has to be him.
I don't know, Tub. I mean, he could be the hunter.
But why does he seem so different?
I don't know.
So when you're animating, you know, you can have them all talking and hear them. And I turn the textures off because it's a little slower when you have textures on.
Did
But
you see that? It was magic.
Yeah, I saw it.
Mac, if this guy isn't the Nightmare Hunter, then...
So that's just a little example of a scene from the movie. You can see how I did that. This is a good example of some of the trickery that I use. So there's a scene where Shy runs and then jumps and slices some nightmares. So I actually animated in place, the jumps and all that, and then I animated her body moving across space after. So I'm going to show you what it looks like normally. And so then, you know, then I went ahead and animated her body moving across space, like whatever axis it was, Z space. But, and also since you don't see her feet, you'll see here that her feet get all weird and like twist and don't work right. And so the way the shot was, the way it was framed, you don't see her feet, so then, I mean, you don't have to really fix that stuff because it was a closer shot like this. So that's what some of this stuff looks like. Just a little animated shot. And she has, I think she has deformers for her hair and stuff, but I didn't really use them much. See, she has deformers on her boobs, but as you can see with this, it gets kind of ridiculous looking. Oops. So I had a lot of deformers on the hair and like different parts of the body during the movie, but I didn't really use them because they're too hard to control, and you know, I wasn't trying to do fan service too much in this movie as much as I did in Heartstring Marionette with Susie, so I didn't really use the deformers much. But they're really easy to use. And here's the evil mayor. So he's just the regular mayor, but then I just extended his joints and added these little things to make it look like they're connected by strings or whatever they are. And then I just messed up his hair and then flipped his eyes. So, you know, when he blinks his eyes, he actually has eyes on his eyelids. So, because I thought that would look pretty freaky, so I put doll eyes on the outside of his eyelids. So that's how you make him look like that. And then I put a deformer in his face so that it jiggles like that, because I thought that was pretty freaky. But this was just a real easy thing to make him kind of look scarier. And then if you remember, he had the lines on him. So let's see if that'll work. So that's just a render effect that adds like a wire shader. And if you notice in the movie that the mayor and the advisor and his dudes have this crest on them, and also the buildings do. So this was just something that I made. I was doing a bunch of t-shirt designs, and this was just one of the t-shirt designs. So if you want this on a t-shirt, you can just go to m.strange.spreadshirt.com and you can find this shirt. You can be like the mayor and his cronies and a bunch of my other designs. On a random note, here's the movie's title, which is animated in 3D. So if we can get out of here, you can see it's actually my font. So if you want this font, this is actually the m.strange font, and I think it's floating around there on my website, m.strange.com, my blog or something somewhere if you want to use it. So that's what I use in the movie. That's what I use for all my stuff. That's what the mysterious man hunter guy used. So that's the title. Looks kind of cool like this too, but I just did it 2D with those creepy nightmares and their flipping hats. So I always like making giant monsters. I was a big fan of Godzilla and Ultraman and all those old Japanese movies with giant monsters. So I always like making giant creatures and monsters and machines. So making the giant nightmare machine, whatever it was one of the funner models to make. So I always had it planned that this building would be a hat. So I don't know, does it look too obvious as a hat like this? Probably not really, but that's why I put that cover over it for most of the movie. And then, like We Are the Strange, a giant head comes out of the ground. It's a giant monster, and then the whole body. So I'm ripping myself off. But these are the same gears that were in the clock tower. and they all turn, and actually all turn together, like they're driving each other. I don't know if you noticed that, but yeah, they're all in sync. And the way you set these up is they actually drive each other, so they are spinning each other, even though they're not touching. I don't know if you noticed that either, but they're not actually touching. But what I mean by driving is that when one spins, it turns the other one in time. So my design was, you know, to have all these gears for the Heart of the Nightmare, this big thing that everyone is in, and have everyone trapped inside, which these little papers are. I'll try to turn on the textures so you can see the people. So now you can see the people in there. And let's see if we can load our hunter guy. And if you note, it's probably too hard to notice in the movie because it goes by so fast, but his sword, his blade is actually paper. So you see the writing on it. It's hard to see like this, but it's actually the Bible pages from the body cabin in Heartstring Marionette. So that has no meaning, you know, that it's pages from the Bible, because that was from my other movie, and I just happened to have scanned words, so that's what it ended up being. In Heartstring Marionette, it's supposed to be the Bible, because it's this crazy, like, Jesus dude named the body, but in this movie, it's just paper. So, and then you can see the little tiny papers surrounding him. Let's see if we can play it back. And this is our giant proxy hunter dude, and giant monster, which do battle at the end of the movie. This is a pretty iconic shot in the movie where you see Marie walking the sandwiches, and you see her sandwiches, I don't know if you can tell, but it has a little dynamic bounce on it. It's a different color in the movie. It's not previewing it the right color, but, and also in the final film, she's walking a lot faster, so I sped it up. And this thing also is saved as a loop, so I use loops a lot, because then you can just reuse your animation. You don't have to do it over. And, you know, I'm not trying to be the world's best animator. I'm just trying to make movies. So it doesn't matter to me if I use the same walks or runs. So I reuse a lot of stuff like this. Notice in this one it looks like Boggs levitating in midair. So this is just the pre-made kind of looping animation that I used. So when he flew up out of the nightmare and was floating in midair. So I just made this kind of procedural animation loop, and then I just animated his body around. But we could take a closer look at Bog, and we can look at his little sword. So these were the swords that the enemies used in my last movie, Heartstring Marionette. So I just used the same sword. So he has a little mini one, and this is the heart that's on the kid in Heartstring Marionette too, if you remember that. So I reused a lot of the same stuff, and in more ways than one. You know, thematically I like using a lot of the same characters. The mysterious samurai kind of dude, the kids. So I hope you liked this little peek into the CG world of I Am Nightmare. In case you were wondering, which you probably were, I used the software Cinema 4D to make this movie, and I used an old version, actually, Cinema 4D 11.5, to animate the movie, and then I rendered it and lit it in Cinema 4D 13. The current version, as when I'm recording this video, is 15, so I'm using old versions. But if you're interested in getting into this stuff, I would recommend Cinema 4D, and it's really easy to use. And I'll actually be starting my own film school pretty soon. It's going to be called Strange Film School, so I don't know if I'll have it by the time you look this up. I probably won't, but in the future, keep an eye out for strangefilmschool.com. if you want to learn about how to make movies or animation like I do. So thanks for watching I Am Nightmare. Thanks for watching this little peek into the CG world of I Am Nightmare. And if you want more information, like I said, watch out for my film school. I'm going to do a bunch of tutorials, and I'll show you how to do this stuff if you want to learn, because I never went to film school or animation school or anything. I taught myself, and it's pretty easy to do it the way I do it. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks for purchasing the deluxe edition of I Am Nightmare, and I look forward to showing you my next movie. So thanks, and bye.